Upon returning unexpectedly from a trip, a businessman finds his house plunged into a disturbing silence. At the top of the stairs, what he sees paralyzes him. His daughter lying pale, whispering that her own mother put something in her drink. That sentence triggers a dark spiral of secrets, manipulations, and family betrayals. And when the truth finally comes to light, everyone discovers that the most dangerous enemy is the one who sleeps under the same roof. If this story has piqued your interest, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. Let's continue. The Alden Estate, imposing and majestic atop the hills of Greenwich, Connecticut, stood out among the other residences in the area. The meticulously maintained gardens and modern architecture made the property a true symbol of power and success. On that autumn afternoon, the sun was slowly setting, painting the sky with orange hues that reflected in the house's large glass windows. Marcus Alden, 45, a pharmaceutical executive and owner of one of the largest laboratory networks in the United States, was finally returning home. The taxi stopped in front of the main gate, and Marcus paid the driver with a generous tip. His face showed the fatigue of someone who had spent the last 2 weeks in intense meetings abroad. But there was also a glimmer of expectation in his eyes. He was eager to see his daughter, Sophia, just 7 years old, the light of his life since his first wife, Louisa, had passed away due to a serious illness 3 years prior. "Mr. Alden, welcome back," greeted Eleanor, the housekeeper who had worked for the family for over a decade. "Thank you, Eleanor. Where's my little princess?" "I've missed her." Eleanor's expression shifted subtly, an almost imperceptible nervousness. "Little Sophia is upstairs in her room, Mrs. Camilla said she was tired and went to rest a bit before dinner." Camilla was Marcus's current wife, whom he had married just over a year ago. She worked as an administrator at the charity foundation Marcus had created in Louisa's memory. Beautiful, intelligent, and seemingly dedicated, Camilla had won Marcus over with her caring nature and attention to Sophia. As he ascended the stairs towards his daughter's room, Marcus noticed the unusual silence that hung over the house. Normally, when he returned from a trip, Sophia would run to greet him with hugs and requests to see the gifts he always brought. The silence was unsettling. "Sophia," he called, tapping lightly on the door, decorated with stars and moons. There was no answer. Marcus slowly opened the door, and what he saw chilled him to the bone. Sophia lay on the floor next to her bed, with a spilled glass of milk beside her. Her little face was pale, and her lips had a slightly bluish tint. "Sophia, my God!" Marcus cried, rushing to his daughter's side. He scooped her into his arms, feeling her small, fragile body heavier than usual. Sophia opened her eyes with difficulty, recognizing her father. "Daddy ... she murmured in a weak voice. "Mummy Camilla. She put something in my drink ... Marcus's world collapsed at that instant. Without losing time, he grabbed his cell phone and called emergency services, requesting an ambulance urgently. While waiting, he held Sophia in his arms, talking to her, begging her to stay awake. "Call Camilla, now." The housekeeper appeared quickly at the door, her eyes wide with terror at the sight. "Good heavens, what happened to the child? Call Dr. Paul immediately, and find Camilla." Eleanor disappeared quickly to fulfill the orders, while Marcus continued to hold his daughter. His heart beating erratically in his chest. The minutes seemed to drag, each second an eternity of anguish. Camilla emerged at the bedroom door, wearing an elegant navy blue silk set. Her face was composed in an expression of surprise and concern, but there was something in her eyes, a strange glint Marcus had never noticed before. "Marcus, you're back early. What happened to Sophia?" "That's what Sophia just told me." "That you put something in her drink," Marcus said, his voice laden with contained fury. Camilla's face paled, but she quickly recomposed herself. "What? That's absurd. I only gave her the milk with honey she always has before bed. She must be having some kind of allergic reaction." Before Marcus could respond, the sound of the ambulance arriving was heard. Minutes later, paramedics entered the room, and Sophia was placed on a stretcher. Marcus insisted on accompanying his daughter in the ambulance, leaving Camilla in the mansion with Eleanor. At the hospital, Dr. Paul Marshall, Sophia's pediatrician since birth, and a close friend of Marcus, was waiting. After an initial examination and the administration of oxygen, Sophia was taken for more detailed tests. "What do you think it could be, Paul?" Marcus asked, his voice trembling with concern. "It's still too early to say for sure, Marcus, but the symptoms suggest some type of sedative. We'll run a series of tests to be certain." "Sedative?" Marcus felt his body go cold. "But how? Who? ... The image of Sophia's murmured words echoed in his mind. "Mummy Camilla put something in my drink. Could it be possible? The woman who had sworn to love and protect his daughter as her own, could she have done something so terrible?" Dr. Paul placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Try to calm down. Sophia is stable now, and we'll take care of her. I need you to tell me exactly what happened." Marcus recounted what he had found upon arriving home and Sophia's words. The doctor listened attentively, his professional face revealing no emotions. "We'll await the test results before drawing any premature conclusions," Dr. Paul said, trying to calm his friend. "In the meantime, Sophia will remain under observation." The following hours were a true torment for Marcus. Sitting in the hospital waiting room, his mind was filled with unanswered questions. Why would Camilla do something like this? Could it really be possible that she had tried to harm Sophia? His phone rang, interrupting his dark thoughts. It was Rebecca, his secretary at the company. "Mr. Alden, I heard you returned earlier than expected. Did something happen?" "Sophia is in the hospital, Rebecca. It seems she was ... Quotes, he hesitated, still unable to put into words what he suspected. "It seems she was poisoned." A heavy silence followed on the other end of the line. "My God, how is she? Is there anything I can do to help?" "I don't know yet. The doctors are running tests. Please cancel all my appointments for this week. I'll stay with Sophia until she's fully recovered." After hanging up, Marcus received another call, this time from Camilla. "Marcus, how is Sophia? I'm distraught here." Her voice sounded genuinely concerned. "The doctors are still running tests," he replied, trying to keep his voice neutral. "Camilla, I need to know exactly what you gave Sophia to drink. I already told you, it was just milk with honey. As always. I don't understand what could have happened. She was fine when I left her in her room." There was a tremor in Camilla's voice, something that could be interpreted as fear or guilt. Marcus no longer knew whom to trust. "I'm going to hang up now. The doctor is coming," he said, ending the call before she could respond. Dr. Paul approached with a folder in his hands, his face serious. "Marcus, the first results are in. We found traces of a mild sedative in Sophia's system. The dosage wouldn't be fatal for an adult, but for a child, her size. ... Marcus felt the world spin around him. It was true then. Someone had deliberately drugged his daughter. Who would do this, Paul? Why? The doctor sighed, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. I don't know, Marcus. But the police will want to investigate this. It's a case of possible child poisoning. As Marcus absorbed the shock of the confirmation, Sophia woke up in the hospital room. He rushed to her side, holding her tiny hand in his. Double quotes, she murmured, still drowsy. I'm here, my love. You're safe now. Mummy Camilla. Double quotes, Sophia began, but stopped, as if afraid to continue. What did she do, sweetie? You can tell me. I'm here to protect you. Sophia looked at her father with eyes full of confusion and fear. She said it was medicine to help me sleep better, and then I felt dizzy, but it tasted strange. Double quotes, the girl began to cry. I don't want anything she gives me anymore. Daddy, I'm scared. Marcus hugged his daughter carefully, trying to contain the fury growing within him. Don't worry, my love. I won't let anything bad happen to you. Never again. 3 days had passed since Sophia was discharged from the hospital. Dr. Paul had insisted that the girl remain under observation for 48 hours, ensuring that all the sedative was eliminated from her system. During that time, Marcus hadn't left his daughter's side for a moment, sleeping in the uncomfortable chair next to the hospital bed, ignoring the pains in his back and the accumulated fatigue from his trip. Camilla had visited the hospital only once, bringing a teddy bear and flowers. Sophia had pretended to sleep throughout the visit, refusing to speak to her stepmother. The girl's behavior only reinforced Marcus's suspicions, which grew with each passing hour. Now, back at the mansion in Greenwich, Marcus had taken precautions. Sophia was sleeping in his room, and he had hired a private nurse, Deborah, to stay with the girl when he needed to leave. Furthermore, he had instructed Eleanor not to leave Camilla alone with Sophia under any circumstances. Do you really think Mrs. Camilla would be capable of harming the child? Eleanor had asked the night before, after Sophia had fallen asleep. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a typical gesture when he was worried. I don't know what to believe anymore, Eleanor. The tests don't lie. Someone gave Sophia a sedative, and she says it was Camilla. The housekeeper nodded, her face marked by wrinkles of concern. I always thought Mrs. Camilla's sudden interest in the foundation was strange. You know, before you two got married. She never showed any interest in social causes. Eleanor's words planted a new seed of doubt in Marcus's mind. It was true. Camilla had appeared in his life precisely when he was looking for someone to help administer the Louisa Alden Foundation, created in honor of his late wife. Camilla had impressed everyone with her knowledge of management and her apparent commitment to the cause. The romance had come later, unexpected, but welcomed for a lonely man trying to rebuild his life. That morning, Marcus woke early and went straight to the mansion's study. He needed to review some foundation documents before Camilla arrived. Something was bothering his thoughts, a growing distrust he couldn't ignore. As he scanned the computer files, he heard light footsteps approaching. Camilla entered the study, wearing a red dress that enhanced her beauty. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant bun, and her perfume filled the room. Good morning, darling. I didn't expect to find you here so early. How is Sophia? She's fine. Deborah is with her now, Marcus replied, not taking his eyes off the computer screen. Camilla approached, placing her hands on her husband's shoulders and massaging gently. You're so tense. I understand your concern, but the doctor said she's fine now, didn't they? Marcus subtly recoiled from her touch. The doctors confirmed there was a sedative in her system, Camilla. Someone deliberately drugged my daughter. Camilla stiffened for a second, but then her posture relaxed again. And you think it was me? Is that it? Based on what a scared and confused child said. Her voice had a tone of hurt, but her eyes remained dry. I love Sophia as if she were my own daughter, you know that. Marcus finally turned to face her. I want to believe that, Camilla. I really do. But I can't ignore what Sophia told me. She's never lied to me before. Children have vivid imaginations, Marcus. Maybe she confused things. Maybe it was something she ate at school, or ... double quotes, he was home all day. Elena confirmed that, Marcus interrupted, and Sophia was very specific. She said you gave her milk with a strange taste, and then she felt dizzy. Camilla's eyes narrowed slightly, but she maintained her composure. I will prove my innocence, Marcus. I don't know how yet, but I will prove that I would never harm Sophia. Camilla left the study with determined steps, leaving Marcus with his growing doubts. Something wasn't right, and he was determined to uncover the truth. Hours later, Marcus was in his office at Alden Pharmaceuticals, one of the country's largest laboratory networks. Rebecca, his secretary for over 8 years, entered with a folder in her hands. Mr. Alden, here are the documents you requested regarding the Foundation's latest transactions. Marcus took the folder and began to leaf through the documents. Thank you, Rebecca. Did you notice any irregularities? Rebecca hesitated before responding. Well, I'm not an accountant, but there are some transfers to companies I don't recognize. It seems they were approved by Mrs. Camilla in recent months. Marcus frowned, concentrating on the numbers. There were significant transfers to generic named companies, all approved by Camilla. Most were justified as social projects abroad, but there were no detailed reports on these supposed projects. Rebecca asked the legal department to discreetly investigate these companies. I want to know who the owners are, and if these projects actually exist. Rebecca nodded and left the room. Marcus felt an increasing weight on his shoulders. Were these just coincidences, or was Camilla hiding something much more serious than he imagined? His phone rang, interrupting his dark thoughts. It was Eleanor. Mr. Marcus, I'm sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know. There's a young man here wanting to speak with you. He says it's about an administrator position for the Foundation. He looks familiar somehow, but I can't remember from where. I'm not hiring anyone, Eleanor. Tell him to leave a resume and we'll contact him if there's interest. I told him that, sir, but he insists he has a special recommendation. A Dr. Oliver from Miami. He said you would know the name, Dr. Oliver. The name sounded familiar to Marcus. He was the doctor who had cared for his brother Graham before the accident that supposedly took him 5 years ago. Too strange a coincidence. What's this young man's name? Robert Sterling, sir. The name meant nothing to Marcus, but his curiosity was piqued. Tell him I'll be home in an hour. Please ask him to wait. Upon hanging up, Marcus couldn't concentrate on work anymore. Who was this Robert Sterling? And why would he mention Dr. Oliver, a figure linked to his family's painful past? When he arrived home, he found a visitor sitting in the living room, drinking tea served by Eleanor. Robert Sterling was a man of approximately 40, with brown hair and some graying at the temples, and deep green eyes that seemed to examine everything around him with intensity. There was something strangely familiar about him, something Marcus couldn't identify. Mr. Alden, thank you for receiving me, Robert said, standing up and extending his hand. Dr. Oliver always spoke highly of you and your work at the Foundation. Marcus shook the extended hand, feeling an inexplicable chill run down his spine. How do you know Dr. Oliver? He cared for my brother before the accident. A shadow seemed to cross Robert's face. Yes, I know. I was his patient too. For a long time, actually. He helped me recover from a trauma. There was something in the way Robert spoke, in the way his eyes moved around the room, that left Marcus intrigued and uncomfortable at the same time. And what exactly brings you here, Mr. Sterling? Robert smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I heard the Louisa Alden Foundation's looking for a new administrator. I have experience in the field, and Dr. Oliver suggested I apply. He said it would be a good way to reconnect with my roots." Before Marcus could respond, they heard footsteps on the stairs. Sophia was descending slowly, accompanied by Deborah. When the girls saw Robert, she stopped abruptly, her eyes widening. "Sophia, what is it, dear?" Marcus asked, concerned by his daughter's reaction. Sophia pointed at Robert, her face a mix of confusion and recognition. "He looks like the man in the picture. The one you said was my uncle and went to heaven." Marcus felt his blood run cold. Sophia was referring to Graham, his brother, who died 5 years ago in a car accident in Miami. The body was never found, as the vehicle had fallen into a river during a storm. The resemblance Sophia pointed out now screamed in his mind. Robert seemed as surprised as Marcus, but there was something else in his gaze, a spark of recognition perhaps, or fear. "Miss Sophia, it's a pleasure to meet you," Robert said, regaining his composure. "You must be confusing me with someone else." Sophia shook her head stubbornly. "No, you look like him. The same eyes. Daddy, look." Marcus now stared fixedly at Robert, noticing for the first time the subtle similarities, the shape of his face, the jawline, and especially the green eyes, a characteristic of the Alden men. "Mr. Sterling, why don't you tell me more about your connection to Dr. Oliver?" Marcus's voice was controlled, but there was an evident tension. Before Robert could respond, the living room door opened again, and Camilla entered. Upon seeing Robert, she froze, her face losing all color. The glass she held slipped from her hands and shattered on the marble floor. "You!" she exclaimed, in a voice that barely sounded like her own. "What are you doing here?" Robert slowly stood up, his eyes fixed on Camilla. "Hello, Camilla. You seem surprised to see me, almost as if you're seeing a ghost." The silence that followed was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Marcus looked from one to the other, realizing there was much more to this story than either of them was revealing. "You two know each other?" he finally asked, his grave voice breaking the tense silence. Camilla quickly regained her composure, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Vaguely. Mr. Sterling worked briefly at the clinic where I volunteered in Miami before we met, Marcus. That was a long time ago." Robert smiled, an enigmatic smile that made Marcus wonder how much of Camilla's story was true. "Yes, a long time. Long enough for some people to change completely, wouldn't you say, Camilla?" The air in the room was thick with tension. Sophia, sensing the heavy atmosphere, clung to her father's leg. Marcus placed his hand protectively on his daughter's shoulder, while his mind furiously worked, trying to connect the dots of this strange reunion. Who was Robert Sterling really? What was his connection to Camilla? And why did Sophia find him so similar to the uncle she had never known in life? The answers to these questions promised to shake the foundations of the Alden estate, and reveal secrets that some preferred to remain buried forever. Night had fallen over New York City when Marcus finally managed a moment alone with Robert. After the strange encounter in the living room, Camilla had quickly retreated, claiming a severe headache, and Sophia had been taken to her room by Deborah to rest. Now in the mansion's study, Marcus poured 2 glasses of whiskey and offered one to Robert, who accepted with a nod of thanks. "I think we have a lot to talk about, don't we?" Marcus said, intently observing the man's reactions. "Your reaction to seeing Camilla, and her reaction to seeing you. There's a story there that I need to know." Robert swirled the amber liquid in his glass, his green eyes fixed on the dancing shadows the drink produced against the crystal. It's a long and complicated story, Mr. Alden. I have all night, Marcus replied, determined. And please call me Marcus. I have a feeling we're not exactly strangers. A slight smile appeared on Robert's lips, but his eyes remained serious. You're right. We're not strangers, or at least, we shouldn't be. Robert stood up and walked to the bookshelf, where several family photographs were displayed. He stopped in front of a particular one, an image of Marcus next to Graham, both smiling on a fishing trip years before the accident. Your brother was very much like you. The same determination in his eyes. Marcus felt a knot in his throat. Talking about Graham was still painful, even after 5 years. How did you know my brother? He asked, going straight to the point that intrigued him. Robert turned to face him, his expression now grave. I didn't know your brother, Marcus. I *** your brother. The silence that followed was almost palpable. Marcus felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. It was impossible. It had to be. That's not funny at all, he finally said, his voice trembling with contained anger. My brother died in the accident in Miami. His car fell into the river during that storm. They never, double quotes, his voice faltered, never found the body. But there was no way, double quotes, no way he could have survived. Robert completed. But I survived, Marcus. I was found on the riverbanks by fishermen, unconscious and severely injured. I had no documents with me. The trauma of the accident caused amnesia. Marcus shook his head, refusing to believe. It's too convenient a story. You could have read about the accident in the newspapers. Gathered information, double quotes, ask me something only Graham would know. Something that wouldn't be in any newspaper or public record. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling torn between distrust and a small flame of hope that began to ignite in his chest. The night before you. Before Graham went to Miami, we had a conversation. What was it about? Robert closed his eyes for a moment, as if searching for a distant memory. You were worried because I wanted to expand the business into the Southeast alone. You said it was risky, that we should go together. I insisted I needed to do it on my own to prove my worth. You mentioned that I promised our mother, on her deathbed, that we would always take care of each other. Marcus felt his legs weaken and had to lean on the table to keep from falling. That conversation had never been shared with anyone. It was something between brothers, a private moment that no stranger could have known. Graham. The word came out as a whisper, laden with emotion and disbelief. Robert, or was it Graham, smiled sadly. I don't remember everything, Marcus. My memory still has many gaps. But in recent months, fragments have returned. Images, conversations, sensations. Dr. Oliver has been helping me with this recovery process. Why didn't you look for me sooner? It's been 5 years, for God's sake. Because until 6 months ago, I didn't know who I was. I lived under the name Robert Sterling, working as an administrative assistant at a clinic in Miami. It was only when I started having flashes of memory that Dr. Oliver suggested more intensive therapy. Marcus tried to process it all. It was as if the world he knew was being completely redrawn before his eyes. And Camilla. How does she fit into this story? Robert's expression hardened. Camilla worked as a nurse at the clinic where I was treated in the first few months after the accident. She was the one who took care of me when I was still in serious condition. Nurse? She told me she was an administrator and worked with social projects in Miami. Another one of her lies. Robert shook his head. She was a nurse and took care of me for months. We developed a close relationship. She said she cared about me, that she would help me recover my memories. But over time, I noticed that she seemed to control which memories I recovered. What do you mean? She managed my medications, decided which therapies I would undergo. When I started having dreams about a family, about a brother, she would increase the sedative dosage. She said they were hallucinations caused by the trauma, that I had never had a family. Marcus felt a wave of nausea. Could it be possible that Camilla had deliberately kept Graham away from him? Why? How did you discover the truth? Dr. Oliver began to suspect the excessive doses of medication Camilla was giving me. When she left the clinic to work in New York City, he gradually reduced my medication. That's when the memories started coming back more strongly. I remembered you, our name, the family business. And why would Camilla want to keep you from your true identity? What would be the benefit for her? Robert hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. When my documents were lost in the accident, I needed new ones to receive treatment. Camilla helped with that, but she registered me as Robert Sterling, her fiancé. That gave her access to medical decisions and financial ones. Financial? There was an insurance policy, Marcus. A life insurance policy in my name, as Graham Alden. Camilla knew about it because she found documents in my belongings that survived the accident. She presented a fake death certificate and collected the money, claiming to be my fiancé. Marcus's blood boiled. The idea that Camilla had manipulated and stolen from his brother was revolting. But why marry me then? If she already had the insurance money, The insurance amount, however large, doesn't compare to the Alden fortune, does it? Robert replied bitterly. And I suspect that when the memories started coming back, even with the medication, she realized it was only a matter of time until I discovered the truth. So double quotes. So she decided to get close to the family in another way. Marcus completed, the understanding finally crystallizing. Taking control of the foundation, gaining my trust, becoming part of my life. And Sophia's. The mention of his daughter made Marcus remember the sedative incident. Everything began to make terrible sense. She tried to drug my daughter, Graham. Sophia said Camilla put something in her drink. It doesn't surprise me, Robert said gravely. She's an expert at administering sedatives. That's how she kept me confused and dependent for so long. But why would she do that to Sophia? What threat could a 7-year-old child pose? Robert thought for a moment. Sophia might have seen or heard something compromising. Children perceive more than we imagine. Or perhaps Camilla wanted to create a situation where you would become more dependent on her. More isolated. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at his phone, considering calling the police immediately. But then he hesitated. We need proof, Graham. Serious accusations like these cannot be made based solely on suspicion. If Camilla is as manipulative as she seems, she'll find a way to get away with it. I agree. And I believe she left traces. The insurance money, the altered medical records, and now the suspicious transfers from the foundation you mentioned. We need to investigate carefully. Marcus nodded slowly. In the meantime, we cannot let her suspect that we know, and, more importantly, we cannot leave her alone with Sophia for a second. She must already suspect something. Her reaction to seeing me was too revealing. She's probably planning her next move right now, Marcus said, instinctively looking towards the hallway leading to Camilla's room. As if conjured by his thoughts, the study door opened softly, and Camilla entered. She was wearing an elegant silk robe and had her hair loose, framing her pale face. Her eyes moved from Marcus to Robert, calculating, assessing. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I just came for a glass of water and heard voices. Just a business conversation." "Darling," Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice neutral. "Mr. Sterling has some interesting ideas for the foundation." Camilla approached Robert, extending her hand in a seemingly cordial gesture. "I apologize for my reaction earlier, Mr. Sterling. You reminded me of someone I knew a long time ago, and it was a shock. I hope we can start over." Robert shook the offered hand briefly, his face an impenetrable mask. "Of course, Mrs. Alden. No hard feelings." Camilla's eyes fixed on his for a moment, as if trying to convey a silent message. Then she turned to Marcus. "Don't stay up too late, darling. You've barely had time to rest from your trip." With that, she left, closing the door softly behind her. The two men remained silent for several seconds, listening to the sound of her footsteps fading down the hallway. "She was plotting something," Robert said finally, in a low voice. "I saw it in her eyes. She's assessing her options." Marcus nodded, feeling a mixture of anger and determination growing within him. "Then we need to be faster. Tomorrow, we'll start gathering all possible evidence. I'll ask Rebecca to expedite the investigation into the companies that receive transfers from the foundation, and I'll contact Dr. Oliver to get copies of my original medical records before Camilla altered them." Marcus looked at his brother, still barely able to believe he was there, alive, after so many years of believing he had lost him. "There's one more thing I need to know. You said Camilla controlled your memories, your medications. Did she abuse you in any way?" Robert looked away, the pain evident on his face. "There were times when I was so sedated that I barely knew what was happening. Other times, she made me believe we were a passionate couple, that we had plans together. It was like living in an alternative reality built by her. And yes, there was intimacy. An intimacy I would never have consented to if I had been fully conscious." Marcus felt bile rise in his throat. The idea that his brother had been manipulated in that way was unbearable. "We're going to put an end to this, Graham. We're going to expose everything she's done and ensure she can never hurt anyone in our family again." Robert nodded, a glint of determination appearing in his eyes. "Like old times, brother. Just us against the world." "Like old times," Marcus confirmed, extending his hand for a firm shake that sealed the pact between brothers reunited after years of forced separation. What neither of them noticed was the shadow that briefly passed under the study door, nor did they hear the almost inaudible footsteps that moved away down the hallway. Camilla had heard more than she admitted, and her eyes, now cold as ice, were already calculating how to eliminate the new threats to the empire she had built with such patience. The next morning dawned gray over New York City, with heavy clouds promising an imminent storm. Marcus woke early, after a restless night's sleep filled with disturbing dreams. Beside him, Sophia slept peacefully, her soft, regular breathing the only sound in the room. He watched his daughter for a few moments, a wave of love and protection sweeping over him. He silently promised that, no matter what, he would keep Sophia safe. Robert, or rather Graham, although Marcus still found it difficult to think of him by his real name after so many years, had spent the night in one of the guest rooms. Camilla, surprisingly, had not questioned the decision, merely offering a tense smile when Marcus announced that the administrator candidate would stay for a few days to get to know the foundation better. Descending the stairs silently so as not to wake anyone, Marcus went to the kitchen, where he found Eleanor already preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Mr. Marcus," the housekeeper greeted him in her maternal way. "You didn't sleep well, did you? You have dark circles under your eyes." Marcus forced a smile, accepting the cup of strong coffee she offered him. "I have a lot on my mind, Eleanor." The housekeeper looked around, making sure they were alone, and lowered her voice. "Sir, there's something I need to tell you. Last night, after everyone went to bed, I saw Mrs. Camilla in the study. She was on your computer." Marcus felt his body stiffen. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. I was going to check if all the windows were closed because of the approaching storm when I saw the light in the study. I thought it was you, but when I passed the hallway, I saw it was her. Did she realize you saw her?" "No, sir. I went back without making a sound, but ... quotes Eleanor, hesitated, biting her lower lip. "But what, Eleanor? It's important that you tell me everything." "She wasn't just looking. She was copying files to a flash drive. And then I saw her open the drawer where you keep important documents, the one with the special lock." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. In that drawer, he kept documents related to bank accounts, property deeds, and, most alarming, the will he had made after Louisa's passing, naming Sophia as the sole heir, with Graham as her guardian should anything happen to him. Of course, after Graham's supposed accident, he had altered the document, leaving Sophia's guardianship to a council formed by close friends and trusted executives. He had never considered leaving Camilla as guardian, something that now seemed a providentially wise decision. Was the drawer locked? Yes, sir. But she had a key. She seemed to know exactly what she was looking for. Before he could fully process this information, they heard approaching footsteps. Robert entered the kitchen, looking as tired as Marcus. "Good morning," he greeted, accepting the coffee Eleanor offered him. The housekeeper looked at him with curiosity, clearly noticing the resemblance to Graham, but discreetly withdrew to let them talk privately. "I spoke with Dr. Oliver last night," Robert said in a low voice, once they were alone. "He agreed to send copies of my original medical records. He said he always suspected Camilla's intentions and kept duplicates of everything." "Excellent. Rebecca's also investigating the foundation's transfers. She should have news today." Marcus recounted what Eleanor had witnessed the night before. "She's trying to erase tracks," Robert concluded, his green eyes darkening with concern, "or looking for information that could give her an advantage. In any case, we need to act quickly." "I agree. I'm going to the office right now to talk to Rebecca. Could you stay here and keep an eye on Camilla? Sophia won't leave Deborah's side. I've already given specific instructions, but I don't want Camilla wandering around the house unsupervised, especially near my study." Robert nodded, determined. "You can count on me. And Marcus, be careful. Camilla is more dangerous than she seems." At the company office, Rebecca was already waiting for Marcus with a folder of documents. Her normally serene face showed signs of concern. "Good morning, Mr. Alden. I have the information you requested about those companies, and it's not good at all." Rebecca handed the folder to Marcus, who began to leaf through it immediately. The 3 companies that had received significant transfers from the Foundation, Global Horizon, New Life Consulting, and Secure Future Investments, were all shell companies. They had no employees, physical offices, or real activities. "And the most interesting part," Rebecca continued, "is that they all have the same ultimate beneficiary, a certain Clara Sterling." "I've never heard of her." "Exactly. So we decided to investigate further. Clara Sterling was born in Miami, is 42 years old, graduated in nursing from the University of Miami, and later specialized in hospital administration. She worked for 7 years at St. Luke's Clinic in Miami, where she excelled in caring for patients with neurological trauma. Marcus looked up from the documents, understanding dawning on his face. Camilla worked at that same clinic. Yes, sir. And here's the most revealing part. We couldn't find any photographic records of Clara Sterling. It's as if she were a ghost. But we found this. Rebecca handed Marcus a copy of an identity document. The photo was a bit blurry, but it was unmistakably Camilla, though with shorter hair dyed a different color. The name on the document, however, was Clara Sterling. So Camilla and Clara are the same person, Marcus murmured, feeling anger swell within him. She created an alternative identity to divert money from the foundation. There's more, sir. The bank accounts of these phantom companies received deposits not only from the foundation, but also from a personal account in your name. What? That's impossible. I never authorized such transfers. The transfers were authorized with your personal password and electronic signature. Either someone had access to your credentials, or or the documents were forged. Which is more likely, considering who we're dealing with, Marcus completed, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration. How much money are we talking about, Rebecca? In total, about $12 million over the last 8 months. Marcus felt as if he had been punched. It was a considerable sum, but what truly nauseated him was the betrayal. Camilla had not only deceived and manipulated his brother, but was also systematically stealing from the foundation created in Louisa's memory. It was as if she were desecrating not only the family's present, but also its past. We'll need professional help to properly document all of this, he said, after a few moments of reflection. Discreetly hire a forensic auditing firm. I want a complete report that can be used legally. Rebecca nodded, making quick notes. And what about Mrs. Alden? Are you going to confront her with these discoveries? Not yet. There are more pieces to this puzzle that we need to gather first. If we confront her prematurely, she might destroy evidence or even ... double quotes. He hesitated, remembering the incident with Sophia ... do something desperate. Back at the mansion, Marcus found a seemingly peaceful scene. Sophia was in the living room, drawing under Deborah's supervision. Robert was on the porch, reading a newspaper, his gaze occasionally turning towards the house. There was no sign. Vigilant. Where is my wife? He asked Eleanor, who was passing with a tea tray. She left early, sir. Said she had an important meeting at the foundation and didn't know when she'd be back. Marcus exchanged a meaningful glance with Robert, who had approached upon hearing the conversation. Meeting? As far as I know, there's nothing scheduled for today, Marcus commented, suspicion growing in his voice. She seemed nervous, sir. She was talking on the phone in a low voice before she left. I heard fragments of the conversation, something about resolving the situation and he can't prove anything. Marcus and Robert exchanged another glance, mutual understanding passing between them like an electric current. Camilla was on the move, feeling cornered. I'm going to the foundation immediately, Marcus decided. If she's trying to destroy evidence, we need to stop her. I'll go with you, Robert offered. No, I need you to stay here with Sophia. I don't trust anyone else to protect her now. Camilla might be bluffing, she might be going somewhere else entirely. Don't go alone then. Take someone you trust. Marcus thought for a moment and then nodded, I'll ask Rebecca to meet me there, on the way to the Louisa Eldon Foundation headquarters. Located in an elegant building in the Upper East Side, Marcus received a call from an unknown number. "Hello, Mr. Alden? This is Dr. Oliver from Miami." Marcus felt his heart race. He could finally speak directly with the doctor who had cared for his brother. "Dr. Oliver, thank you for returning my call. We really need your help. I'm sending all of Mr. Graham's medical records, as agreed, but there's something you need to know immediately. I tried to contact Robert, or rather, your brother, but I can't reach him. He's fine, doctor. He's at my house now. What's so urgent?" There was a tense pause on the other end of the line before the doctor continued. "Mr. Alden, we have reason to believe that your wife, Camilla, was not acting alone all this time. We found records of communications between her and someone within your company, someone who provided detailed information about your movements, your finances, and the foundation." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "Who? We're not sure, but the communications were signed only with the initial R. I thought you should know, especially considering what your brother told me about the recent ... family complications." After hanging up, Marcus was paralyzed for a few moments, his mind racing through the possibilities. Who in the company would have access to such personal and confidential information? The answer came like a punch to the gut: Rebecca. But it couldn't be. Rebecca had worked with him for 8 years. She was practically family. She had been the one who initially raised suspicions about the financial transfers. Why would she do that only to incriminate herself? Unless she realized Marcus was already suspecting and decided to get ahead, appearing to be on his side while alerting Camilla about the investigation. With trembling hands, Marcus dialed Roberts' number. "Graham, I need you to listen carefully. Don't trust Rebecca. I repeat, don't trust Rebecca. There's evidence she might have been working with Camilla all this time." "What? What do you mean?" "I don't have time to explain now. I'm almost at the foundation. Just keep Sophia safe and don't let Rebecca into the house if she shows up there." Upon arriving at the foundation headquarters, Marcus found the building strangely empty for a normal weekday. The receptionist, a new young woman he barely knew, seemed nervous when he asked for Camilla. "Mrs. Alden is in the archive room, sir. She asked not to be disturbed. Said she's conducting an urgent audit." Marcus nodded his thanks and headed to the basement, where the foundation's physical archives were kept. When he reached the hallway leading to the archive room, he heard agitated voices. One was unmistakably Camilla's, the other, "Understand, Camilla, we need to act now. He's already suspecting. This morning, he asked for a complete forensic audit. It was Rebecca." The confirmation of her betrayal was like a stab to the heart. "Calm down." Camilla's voice sounded controlled, almost cold. "We have time. He can't prove anything without these documents, and in a few hours there'll be ashes." Marcus approached silently, positioning himself to see inside the room without being noticed. Camilla and Rebecca stood before a large table, on which various documents were spread. Beside them, a paper shredder worked noisily, devouring sheet after sheet. "What about the brother?" Rebecca asked, her voice betraying nervousness. "How did he survive? You said you were sure he wouldn't make it." "It was a miscalculation," Camilla replied coldly. "But don't worry, Robert, or Graham, or whatever he wants to be called, won't be a problem for long. I've already made arrangements." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. What arrangements could those be? And what else had these two women, whom he had trusted so blindly, done together? At that moment, he decided he had heard enough. It was time to confront them, to expose their lies and manipulations. But before he could enter the room, His phone vibrated with a message. It was from Robert's emergency. Sophia is feeling unwell again. Come quickly. Marcus's world stopped. History was repeating itself, but this time he wasn't there to protect his daughter. With his heart pounding painfully against his ribs, he silently backed away from the door, determined to get home as fast as possible. Camilla and Rebecca would have to wait. Sophia was his absolute priority. What he didn't know, as he ran to his car, was that the true drama was only just beginning to unfold. The revelations awaiting him at home would be even more shocking than everything he had discovered so far. The New York City sky had completely darkened when Marcus finally arrived at the mansion. Thick raindrops began to fall, foreshadowing the brewing storm. He had barely parked the car when he leaped out, running towards the front door, his heart hammering against his chest. "Sophia! Graham!" he shouted as he entered the house. Robert appeared at the top of the stairs, his face a mask of concern. "Up here, Marcus. Quick." Taking the steps 2 at a time, Marcus reached the master bedroom, where Sophia lay in bed. Beside her, Deborah monitored her temperature with a grave expression. The girl was pale, but conscious, unlike the first time. "Daddy, double," Sophia murmured upon seeing him, extending a trembling little hand towards him. "I'm here, my love," Marcus said, taking his daughter's hand in his. She was playing in the garden when she suddenly started feeling dizzy and nauseous. We managed to get her inside before she fainted. I've already called Dr. Paul. He should be here any moment. It was the juice, double quotes, Sophia said weakly. It tasted strange, I. Marcus and Robert exchanged alarmed glances. "What juice, Sophia?" Marcus asked gently. "Who gave it to you?" "Aunt Rebecca brought it for me. She said it was special, with Amazonian fruits, Double quotes. The confirmation of his worst suspicions hit Marcus like a lightning bolt. It wasn't enough that Rebecca was conspiring with Camilla. Now she had directly poisoned his daughter, without intermediaries. "Where is Rebecca now?" he asked, trying to control the fury in his voice so as not to scare Sophia. "She left right after the girl started feeling ill," Eleanor replied, having just entered the room with a basin of cold water and compress. "She said she was going to get some medicine, but that was almost an hour ago, and Deborah didn't leave Sophia's side," Marcus asked, looking fixedly at the nurse. "Not for a second, Mr. Alden," Deborah assured him. "As per your instructions." The doorbell rang, announcing Dr. Paul's arrival. Marcus left Sophia in the doctor's care and led Robert to the hallway. "Rebecca is working with Camilla," he said in a low voice, quickly explaining what he had discovered at the foundation. "And now she's poisoned Sophia directly. This is getting out of control, Graham. We need to call the police immediately," Robert replied, his face contorted with anger. "This has gone too far." "I agree. But first we need to make sure Sophia is okay." And the sound of breaking glass downstairs interrupted their conversation. Both froze for an instant, then rushed to the stairs. In the entrance hall they found Camilla, soaked from the rain, her face a mask of fury and despair. At her feet were shards of a vase she had knocked over upon entering. "Where is she?" Camilla screamed upon seeing them. "Where is that traitor?" "Camilla, calm down," Marcus said coldly. "If you're talking about Rebecca, she's not here. But you and I have a lot to talk about." Camilla's eyes widened when she noticed Robert beside Marcus. The resemblance between the brothers now too obvious to ignore. "You already know, don't you?" She laughed, a disturbing, humorless sound. "Of course you know. The great return of the lost brother, how touching. But you don't know half the story." "We know enough, Camilla," Marcus replied. keeping his voice controlled despite the rage boiling in his veins. "We know about Clara Sterling, about the Foundation's embezzlement, about how you kept my brother drugged and away from his family for years. And now you've tried to poison my daughter. Twice." Camilla shook her head, her hysterical laughter growing. "Poison. What a strong word, Marcus. It was just a mild sedative, nothing that would cause permanent damage. I just needed to keep her quiet for a while until I sorted out certain matters." "You're sick," Robert said, taking a step forward. "You need professional help." "Help?" Camilla turned to him, her eyes gleaming with disturbing intensity. "That's what I tried to give you for years, Robert. Or should I call you Graham now? I helped you when no one else did, when you were broken, without memory, without identity. I gave you all of that. You gave me a lie." Robert's voice trembled with contained emotion. "You kept me away from my real life, from my family. You used me to get insurance money, and you think that money was enough?" Camilla laughed again, tossing her wet hair back. "It was just the beginning. I had plans, big plans. But then you started remembering. Those damned memories started coming back. No matter how many pills I gave you." She began to pace back and forth, gesticulating frantically. "That's when I realized I needed a plan B. If I couldn't keep you as Robert Sterling, then I needed to get closer to the source directly. Your brother, the powerful Marcus Alden, a widower, vulnerable, with a fortune and a foundation to manage. It was so easy, ... double quotes. The coldness with which Camilla described her manipulation made Marcus's stomach churn. "And Rebecca? When did she join the scheme?" "Rebecca?" Camilla laughed. "That fool was always part of the plan. She was the one who told me about the administration, about the pharmaceutical company, about the possibility of infiltrating someone as a secretary. She was already positioned long before you met me, Marcus, observing, reporting, preparing the ground. So she was the one who suggested I hire someone for the Foundation?" Marcus asked, the pieces falling into place in his mind. "Brilliant, wasn't it?" Camilla smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "She mentioned you were looking for someone with administrative experience for the Foundation created in honor of your beloved Louisa. I studied, I prepared, I created an entire false history, and it worked perfectly." A lightning bolt illuminated the entrance hall, followed by a clap of thunder that seemed to make the entire mansion tremble. The storm was directly over them now, an apt metaphor for the emotional turmoil unfolding within the house. "Why Sophia?" Marcus asked, his voice almost breaking at the thought of his innocent daughter involved in Camilla's sordid plans. "She's just a child." Camilla stopped pacing and looked directly at Marcus, a shadow passing through her eyes. "At first, I really tried to get close to her. I thought it would be easier to control you if I had the girl on my side. But she always distrusted me, always preferred Eleanor, always talked about how her real mother would have done things differently. And then, a few weeks ago, she saw me on the phone with Rebecca, discussing delicate matters. She heard something she shouldn't have," Robert concluded. "Exactly. The little spy didn't understand everything, of course, but she started asking inconvenient questions. I had to act." "You're a monster," Marcus said, anger finally breaking his composure. "I'll make sure you spend the rest of your life in prison." Camilla smiled, a disturbing smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You don't have enough proof, Marcus. Rebecca and I made sure of that today. All incriminating documents have been destroyed. Your word against mine, the word of a confused child, and a man who spent years with amnesia. It's not very convincing, is it?" "What about the financial transfers?" Marcus asked. "The electronic records, the shell companies in Clara Sterling's name." The confidence on Camilla's face wavered slightly. Everything can be explained. Administrative errors, accounting confusion, ... double quotes. And what about Graham's original medical records? Marcus interrupted. Dr. Oliver kept copies of everything, Camilla. Every medication you improperly administered, every manipulation of diagnoses. He's already sent everything to me and to the authorities. It was as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Camilla visibly paled, her gaze darting between the two brothers, looking for some sign of a bluff. "You're lying," she said, but her voice had lost its previous confidence. "Why do you think I went to the foundation today?" Marcus replied. "To distract you, while Dr. Oliver organized the evidence. We were one step ahead the whole time, Camilla." A new clap of thunder shook the house, as if underscoring the revelation. Camilla seemed cornered, her once confident posture now diminished. But then something in her gaze changed. A cold, calculating calm replaced the momentary panic. "I've come a long way, Marcus. I'm not giving up now." She slowly backed towards the front door. "You know, there's a reason I wasn't so worried about the electronic evidence. Some things can't be erased so easily, unless the source disappears." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "What did you do, Camilla?" At that moment, Dr. Paul appeared at the top of the stairs, his face grave. "Marcus, we need to get Sophia to the hospital immediately. The symptoms are worsening. This isn't a simple sedative this time." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. He turned to Camilla, horror etched on his face. "What did you give her?" Camilla smiled, a cold smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Me? Nothing. Rebecca gave her the juice, didn't she? Ask her." "Oh wait, she's not here." "How convenient." Understanding hit Marcus and Robert simultaneously. Camilla had manipulated Rebecca into administering something more serious to Sophia. Something that would potentially eliminate the main witness against her, and at the same time place all the blame on Rebecca. "What was the poison?" Marcus demanded, advancing menacingly towards Camilla. "Tell me now or I swear." You'll do what?" she challenged, backing a few more steps. "Threaten me? Hit me? That will only worsen your legal situation, Marcus." "Marcus," Dr. Paul called urgently. "We don't have time for this. We need to know what was given to Sophia to treat her properly." Robert placed a hand on his brother's shoulder, restraining him. "She's bluffing, Marcus. If Sophia were truly in mortal danger, Camilla wouldn't be so calm. That would mean a much more serious crime." A spark of hesitation passed through Camilla's eyes, confirming Robert's suspicion. "It's a stronger sedative, isn't it?" Robert continued, studying Camilla's reactions. "Something to keep her unconscious longer, perhaps with some unpleasant side effects, but not lethal. He wouldn't risk a murder charge." Camilla's silence was all the confirmation they needed. Marcus turned to Dr. Paul. "It's a strong sedative, probably something used in clinics for patients with neurological trauma." "She worked with that." Dr. Paul nodded. "That helps narrow down the possibilities. I'll prepare Sophia for transport. Deborah is with her now." As Dr. Paul ascended the stairs again, Camilla took advantage of the moment of distraction to run towards the front door. Marcus and Robert reacted immediately, but Eleanor, who had silently entered the room, was faster. With a surprisingly agile movement for her age, she extended her foot, causing Camilla to trip and fall heavily to the floor. "That's for Sophia," the housekeeper said with unshakable firmness, "and for all the times I had to pretend respect for you while watching your manipulations." Robert helped immobilize Camilla while Marcus called the police. The rain continued to fall violently outside. washing the city as if trying to cleanse all the lies and manipulations that had infected the Alden estate. Minutes later, as they waited for the authorities to arrive, Eleanor approached Marcus with a small wooden box in her hands. "Sir, I found this in Camilla's room when I was changing the sheets yesterday. I didn't know if it was important, but after everything that happened, ... double quotes." Marcus opened the box carefully. Inside, there was a set of small medicine vials, some with clinic labels, others unidentified. There was also a flash drive, some old photographs of Graham before the accident, newspaper clippings about the Alden family, and a diary. "This could be the last piece of the puzzle," Marcus said, quickly leafing through the diary. The pages were filled with Camilla's elegant handwriting, meticulously detailing her plan from the beginning, when she met Graham at the clinic, to her infiltration into Marcus's life. It was a disturbing document of obsession and cold calculation. "She documented everything," Robert murmured, looking over his brother's shoulder. "Why would anyone do that?" "Vanity," Marcus replied. She was so proud of her plan that she needed to record it, to admire it as a masterpiece. This will be her fatal error. Sirens began to be heard in the distance, approaching the mansion. The storm began to subside, as did the nightmare that had settled in the Alden family's life. As the police arrived and Camilla was taken away, Marcus went upstairs to be with his daughter, determined never again to let anything or anyone hurt her. In the room, Sophia was conscious, though drowsy, prepared for transports to the hospital. Her eyes lit up when she saw her father. "Daddy, is that bad lady going away?" "Yes, my love. She'll never hurt you or anyone in our family again." Sophia smiled weakly and squeezed her father's hand. "I knew you'd find out the truth, Daddy. You always do." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead, tears threatening to fall from his eyes. "Now rest. We'll take care of you." As the ambulance took Sophia to the hospital, with Marcus by her side, he looked at the mansion that for so long had been infiltrated by lies and manipulations. Robert stood at the door, talking to the police, finally back where he belonged. Eleanor supervised everything with her vigilant eyes, the true guardian of the family. The rain had stopped completely now, and a faint ray of sunshine began to break through the clouds. It was as if nature was signaling that, finally, the storm had passed, both in the sky and in the Alden family's life. A year had passed since that stormy night that marked the end of the nightmare in the Alden family's life. Spring in New York City brought a refreshing air, with colorful flowers blooming in the gardens and a gentle breeze that seemed to carry promises of better days. The mansion in Greenwich no longer existed. Marcus had decided to sell it a few months after the traumatic events, considering that the place held too many memories of the dark period they had lived through. In its place, the family now resided in a spacious and airy house in Westchester County, with large windows that let sunlight stream freely into every room. Sophia, now 8 years old, played happily in the garden under the watchful eye of Eleanor, who remained as dedicated as ever. The girl had fully recovered from the poisoning, both physically and emotionally, demonstrating surprising resilience for someone so young. Sessions with the child psychologist, Dr. Marina, had helped greatly in the healing process. Inside the new house's study, Marcus and Graham, who had finally completely abandoned the name Robert, were gathered, discussing the latest details of the company and Foundation's restructuring. The new projects of the Louisa Alden Foundation are receiving great acceptance, especially the program to support children who have experienced trauma, Graham commented, leafing through a report on the table. "I have to admit, brother, turning such a negative experience into something positive was a brilliant idea. Marcus smiled, looking out the window towards his daughter, playing outside. It was Sophia's idea, actually. After everything that happened, she said she wanted to help other children who were scared like she was. All the credit goes to her. She's extraordinary, Graham agreed, with genuine admiration in his voice. She has her mother's strength. The mention of Louisa brought a moment of contemplative silence. Even after so many years, her memory remained alive and respected in the family. "How are the therapy sessions going?" Marcus asked, subtly changing the subject. Graham sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture identical to his brother's when he was pensive. "They're helping. Dr. Oliver recommended an excellent therapist specializing in trauma and memory loss here in New York City. I still have occasional flashbacks, moments of confusion, but I'm making progress. The brain is a fascinating and fragile thing. I'm glad to hear that. And ... have you visited Camilla?" The question hung in the air for a few moments. Camilla had been sentenced to 12 years in prison for multiple charges, including fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and attempted poisoning. Rebecca, who had been caught trying to flee the country, received a slightly shorter sentence after cooperating with investigations. "I went to see her once, 3 months ago," Graham finally replied. "Not for her, but for me. I needed to look into her eyes one last time and understand what kind of person is capable of doing what she did. And did you understand?" Graham shook his head negatively. She still believes she was right, that she was just doing what was necessary to secure her future. There's no real remorse, just regret for being caught. Some psychiatrists who examined her suggested traits of antisocial personality disorder, but that doesn't explain everything. Some people just make bad choices, one after another, until they become who they are, Marcus observed. "The important thing is that she can't hurt us anymore." The conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. Deborah, who continued as the family nurse, though now in a more administrative role at the foundation, entered with a coffee tray. "Excuse me, gentlemen. I thought you might like some coffee while you work." "Thank you, Deborah," Marcus said with a smile. "How is the Foundation's new nurse training program going?" "Extremely well, Mr. Alden. We already have over 50 professionals enrolled for the first class. The multidisciplinary approach is attracting a lot of attention in the medical community." After Deborah left, Graham looked at his brother with curiosity. "I've noticed something between you and Deborah in recent months. Is there something you want to tell me?" Marcus blushed slightly, taking a sip of coffee to disguise it. William's single quotes, read ... getting to know each other better. She's an extraordinary woman, dedicated and genuine. Sophia adores her, which is the most important thing to me. I'm happy for you, brother, Graham said sincerely. After everything we've been through, you deserve to find happiness again. The study door opened again, and Sophia ran in, her brown hair bouncing with her movement, and her face lit up with a smile. "Daddy, Uncle Graham, come see. The drawing I made for the Foundation's new poster is ready." The two brothers exchanged smiles and followed the girl to the living room, where a large poster was leaning against the wall. It was a colorful illustration of children holding hands, forming a circle around a large sun. At the top, in careful letters, was written, "Project Light, because every child deserves to shine." "It's beautiful, Sophia," Marcus said, hugging his daughter proudly. "I'm sure it will be perfect for the project launch." "I agree," Graham added, admiring the drawing. "You have a special talent, you know." Sophia smiled, absorbing the compliment. "Doctor, Marina said that when we draw, We're telling stories without words. I wanted to tell a happy story. Marcus felt his eyes well up. His daughter's wisdom, even after all she had faced, never ceased to amaze him. And you did, my love. It's a beautiful story. That night, after Sophia had gone to sleep, Marcus found himself on the house's porch, contemplating the stars that dotted the New York City sky. Graham joined him, bringing 2 glasses of wine. A toast? He suggested, offering one of the glasses to his brother. To what shall we toast? Graham thought for a moment, his eyes reflecting the city lights in the distance. To truth. However painful it may be, it always finds a way. To truth, then, Marcus agreed, raising his glass. After a few moments of comfortable silence, Graham spoke again. I received a letter today. From Camilla. Marcus looked at his brother, surprised and concerned. What did it say? It was ... strange. Different from the tone she usually used. It seemed almost time to reflect, remorseful, that she started therapy in prison, and that she realized the harm she caused. Do you believe her? Graham sighed, swirling the liquid in his glass. I don't know. People like Camilla are masters of manipulation. It could just be another attempt at control, to maintain some kind of connection. At the end of the letter, she asked if Sophia was well, and said that if she could go back in time, things would have been different. But we can't go back in time, Marcus observed. Only move forward. Exactly. That's why I decided not to respond. Some bridges, once burned, should not be rebuilt. Inside the house, the phone rang. Marcus answered, his expression changing to a smile as he spoke briefly. That was Deborah, he explained after hanging up. She wanted to know if she could stop by tomorrow to discuss some details of the Project Light launch event. Ah yes, project's details, Graham teased, making air quotes with his fingers. Nothing to do with the fact that you have a silly grin on your face every time she calls. Marcus laughed, not denying the accusation. Is it that obvious? Completely. But I'm happy for you, truly. Deborah is an incredible woman. I'm taking it slow. After Camilla. Well, let's just say my radar for detecting lies and manipulations is much sharper. That's understandable. But don't let the fear of the past steal the possibilities of the future. Deborah proved her loyalty in the worst moments. That says a lot about a person's character. Marcus nodded, recognizing the wisdom in his brother's words. The living room clock struck 10, and both decided it was time to end the day. As they ascended the stairs, Marcus paused at Sophia's room, quietly opening the door to check on his daughter. The girl slept peacefully, her serene face illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the window. Beside the bed, on the nightstand, was an empty glass of milk. The sight made Marcus's heart clench momentarily, reminding him of the terrible day he had found Sophia unconscious. But then he noticed the little note next to the glass, written in his daughter's childish handwriting. Drank with taste of love. Good night, Daddy. It was a ritual Sophia had created after the traumatic occurrence. Every night she left a note by the glass of milk that Eleanor or, occasionally, Deborah prepared for her, as a way to reaffirm that trust had been restored, that fear had been left behind. Marcus felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to meet Graham's understanding gaze. She's stronger than all of us, his uncle whispered, with admiration in his voice. Yes, she is, Marcus agreed, gently closing the bedroom door. The next morning, the sun shone brightly over New York City as preparations for the Project Light launch event entered their final phase. The new headquarters of the Louisa Alden Foundation, a modern and airy building in Westchester County, was decorated with posters based on Sophia's drawing and colorful flowers that brought life to every room. Deborah coordinated a team of volunteers, distributing tasks and checking every detail with impressive efficiency. When she saw Marcus arrive with Sophia and Graham, her face lit up with a warm smile. "Good morning. Everything is almost ready. The first guests should arrive in an hour." Sophia ran to hug Deborah, who knelt to receive the girl's warm embrace. "My drawing looks nice on the posters, doesn't it?" she asked, pointing to the decorations. "It looks beautiful, Sophia. It's the heart of the entire project." Marcus watched the interaction with a smile. The genuine affection between the two was evident, something he valued immensely. After everything they had been through, seeing Sophia trusting again was a precious gift. The event was a success. Authorities, NGO representatives, doctors, psychologists, and potential partners filled the auditorium to learn about Project Light, an initiative aimed at children who had experienced traumatic events. The multidisciplinary approach, combining medical, psychological care, and artistic and recreational activities, received unanimous praise. At the most emotional moment of the ceremony, Sophia was invited to the stage to speak about the drawing that had become the project's symbol. "I made this drawing because I believe that even when it's dark and scary, we can always find lights," she said, with surprising maturity for her 8 years. "Sometimes the light comes from the people who love and protect us. Other times we have to be our own light, but it's always there, waiting to shine." There wasn't a dry eye in the auditorium after the girl's simple yet deeply touching words. Marcus, on stage beside his daughter, felt overwhelmed with pride. Graham, in the front rows, applauded enthusiastically, undisguised tears streaming down his face. After the official ceremony, while guests chatted animatedly during the cocktail hour, Deborah approached Marcus, who was watching Sophia show her original drawing to a group of children, the first participants in the program. "She's incredible," Deborah commented, following Marcus's gaze. "She has an inner strength that many adults don't possess." "Yes," he agreed. "Sometimes I wonder where such wisdom comes from. Perhaps from the experiences she's lived. Sometimes the deepest wounds teach us the most valuable lessons." Marcus looked at Deborah, admiring not only her serene beauty, but especially the depth of her words and the genuine compassion in her eyes. "Deborah, double quotes," he hesitated, searching for the right words. "Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? Just the two of us?" Her smile was enough of a response. "I'd love to, Marcus, but what about Sophia? Graham has already offered to stay with her. In fact, I suspect the two of them have been conspiring to get us together for months." Deborah laughed, a crystalline sound that seemed to light up the surrounding environment. "Your daughter is indeed clever. I guess we didn't stand a chance against her plan from the start." A few months later, the Alden family was gathered in the garden of their Westchester County home for a Sunday lunch. Sophia, seated between her father and uncle, excitedly recounted her new school project, while Eleanor brought a steaming platter of fajita to the table, her Sunday specialty, a constant presence in the family's life, helped serve dessert, a milk pudding she had prepared following her grandmother's recipe. The relationship between her and Marcus had blossomed naturally, built on solid foundations of respect, mutual admiration, and above all, honesty. "I have an announcement to make," Sophia suddenly said, standing up and adopting a solemn posture that made everyone smile. "I've decided what I want to be when I grow up." "And what would that be, Princess?" Marcus asked, curious. I want to be a psychologist, like Dr. Marina. I want to help children who have gone through difficult things find their light again. An emotional silence fell over the table. Graham was the first to speak. I think that's a wonderful choice, Sophia. You already have the most important gift for it, empathy. I agree, Deborah added, smiling at the girl. You understand how important it is to have someone who truly listens, and I will support you in any path you choose. Marcus completed, hugging his daughter warmly. I'm proud of you, you know. Sophia smiled, soaking in the love that surrounded her from all sides. Later that day, as the sun set, painting the New York City sky with shades of orange and pink, Marcus found Sophia sitting on the porch, quietly drawing in her new notebook. What are you drawing, my love? He asked, sitting beside his daughter. Sophia showed him the drawing, a house with 4 smiling figures holding hands in front of it, and a bright sun in the sky. It's us, she explained. You, me, Uncle Graham, and Deborah. And this one, she pointed to a smaller figure beside the house, is Eleanor. It's a beautiful family, Marcus commented, feeling his heart warm. Yes, Sophia agreed, adding some details to the drawing. You know, Daddy, Mummy Camilla did very bad things. But she taught me one important thing. Marcus looked at his daughter. What did she teach you? She showed me how not to love. Real love doesn't hurt, doesn't lie, doesn't scare. Real love is how you love me, how Uncle Graham loves me, how Deborah and Eleanor love me. It's clear and warm, like the sun. Marcus hugged his daughter, unable to find words to express what he felt. The wisdom of that little soul continued to surprise and teach him every day. On the horizon, the first stars began to appear in the gradually darkening sky. A new night approached, but unlike that stormy night a year ago, this one brought only peace and promises of even better days. The Alden family had weathered their own storm and emerged stronger, more united, and wiser. The scars would remain as silent reminders of battles won, but they no longer hurt as before. Pain. My much more powerful had grown. The ability to transform difficult experiences into sources of strength and compassion. And as the lights of New York City began to twinkle, dotting the urban landscape like reflections of the stars above, father and daughter remained on the porch, drawing together the next chapter of their lives, a chapter illuminated by truth, forgiveness, and above all, genuine love that never imposes, only liberates. End of story, dear listeners. We hope the Alden family's story has touched your hearts. To continue this emotional journey, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories. Find it here by clicking to your left. If you enjoyed this narrative, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. Every day, we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life and the strength of the human spirit. Don't miss our upcoming content. We look forward to reading your comments.